This podcast is brought to you by our supporters on patreon.com and coffee.com. Our supporters are the backbone of the podcast, and we are very thankful for all of you. Your contributions allow us to seek the best ideas and disruptors in the world and bring you podcasts that energize, transform, and change your community. We hope you take courage and join our one-time contributors through coffee.com or our monthly ones on patreon.com. You'll get amazing merch and early access to our unedited interviews and produced podcasts. If you want to contribute, hit the links in the description below. And thank you. In the book of Matthew, chapters 5 through 7, Jesus has a recurring line throughout his Sermon on the Mount. The setup portion of a statement goes a little bit like this. You've heard it said, an eye for an eye, you shall not commit murder, or any other statement from the law. Jesus then follows it with a punchline, but I say to you. Every time he raises the bar with a paradigm shift idea, like, if you hate your brother, you killed him. If you look at a woman lustfully, you committed adultery. And I'm pretty sure that you have heard it said, children are the future of the church. But I say to you.
You know, that's one of my, if I could say, pet peeves when people say that, only because it's really not that I don't believe they're the future of our church, because I do believe that. However, I also believe they are the present of our church. They are the now. They are today. And I think often when we say that they're the future, we are looking towards that future whenever that is, that future time when they develop, they grow, they mature enough for us to use them in ministry. And I think that's where we as adults are wrong, because they can be used today, now. Even the small child can be learned to use their gifts, their talents that God has given them right now to serve Him.
Today on Disruptive Adventism, we dive deep into the topic of children's ministries. When I was a child, I was brought to many meetings for the church. My dad was an elder at the church, and I always heard the rumors about the big plans that the church had to reach people my age. But nobody ever talked to me about it. They never asked me what were my likes or dislikes or my ideas to love, to encourage, to disciple my peers. I just sat outside of the meeting room, waiting for my dad. I used to play on my Game Boy, and then later on my phone, until I was older, and I did not find myself waiting anymore. I was out of the church and never wanting to come back. Our guest, Carole Verrill from the Collegedale Church, a pastor of that church, tells us where the work begins in children's ministries.
We feel, certainly in the Collegedale Church, in our children's ministry and in family ministry and in youth ministry, that parents are the ultimate ministers in the home. There's no doubt about it. They are the ministers for their children. And we hopefully come alongside them and help to provide resources, partner with them is our goal. So is it easier for us and for the children that are in homes where that is already happening naturally? Absolutely. But we have found that in homes, even where that isn't the case, and they're not coming from a strong Christian background, that we can step in, we can come alongside them and nurture them and mentor them in those areas that they have the natural gifts that God has placed for them. And just encourage. It's amazing what encouragement does to children and adults. Some words of affirmation, some identifying of, I see Jesus in you through whatever the gift might be, what that can do to encourage them to develop it.
Did you catch that? A pastor is acknowledging the difficulties that families have in their homes, discipling their children. Shocking. But what is not shocking is the reality of the typical family in the 21st century. They're busy. Work, cooking, errands, stress from finances or family. Parents are busy and usually do not have the time to spend with their children, especially not to educate them in the ways of God. A survey by Tom Rainer, the Simple Church author, found 3 very significant statistics. 60% of parents are worried about how their kids will turn out. 43% of parents don't feel they know their children by age 19 or older. And 75% of people stated that they're too busy. So how can the church enter and collaborate with parents to disciple their children when they're so busy?
That's an excellent question. And I think one of the ways is to seek to know your community, wherever your church is planted, and learn about get involved in the local schools, the public schools in the area. They're always in need of tutors, extra tutors. Be a presence there. Make some connections. Offer story hours at your church. Offer free babysitting nights for parents. You'd be surprised how many would come into your doors if they knew, there was a free night. Maybe it's during Christmas time. We've done this before. We offer free babysitting, at Christmas time. And parents come in and drop their kids, and we share Jesus with the children. We have a program, a mini VBS, if you will, with them. Children are amazing evangelists, and they often go home and they share with their parents. And it's often the case that children will open the door for their parents then to come in. But you have to be intentional. You have to look for those ways to connect, to get involved, to put yourself out there in the community. Those are not easy, but I think they're worth it in the long run.
It sounds like you have a certain philosophy in the Collegedale Church. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I see that, you've mentioned collaboration a couple times. So I would like to see what it looks like, because with such a big church, how do kids know who to attach? There's so many pastors, so like, what is their philosophy? How do you guys work it out?
That's an excellent question, because it is something that with as many of us as there are here, we would love the children to be connected to all of us. Certainly more than just me, because we all can offer different things. And children will connect with different people better. We want to give them the opportunity to whoever they connect with best. One way that we do some very specific and intentional ways of collaboration in our church is that we have our family life pastor, our youth pastor, and myself work together in what is called the Orange Team. And I'll explain that just a little bit. Because what we do is, it's taken from the Orange Conference idea by Reggie Joyner, where he says that the church is represented by yellow, which is the light of the world. That's what we should be. And the red is represented by the home, which is the heart. We hope that our homes are filled with love. So when you combine red and yellow, you get orange. And so we say, we are the Orange Team. We are working together to meet the needs of our families of our church, working side by side, in collaboration and partnership together as pastors, and what we can each bring with our own specific, unique gifts, strengths, weaknesses, that we can work together and balance each other out and do projects together and collaborative events together, and then call the parents in to collaborate with us.
That collaboration, that philosophy, is not all fairy tales. After the break, we'll get to hear from Carole some of the difficulties, some of the challenges that she has faced during the last 14 years as a children's minister. You have an idea. You want to tell it to the world, but you don't know where to start. That's where Anchor comes in. They have the tools for you to edit, produce, and record your idea right from your phone or computer. It's the easiest way to reach and grow your audience. They publish for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms. And to top it all off, they match you with advertisers so you can earn from your passion and your wonderful idea. So tell me, what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and follow your dream. We continue with more Disruptive Adventism. Today our topic is children's ministries. Carole continues sharing a couple of the struggles that she has faced as a children's minister in the last 14 years.
Probably one of the most really challenging times and difficult times was in dealing with a family situation in which the parents were estranged, and there was some the father was asked to not have any contact with the children, and it was very, very difficult, very painful for those children. We got involved very much. I brought the children to my home and tried to minister and encourage and be there for the mother. And it was just a very difficult time realizing what family difficulties, what family troubles can do to our children, how they hurt our children so much. So that was a time where we had to rally and come together. And it just reminded me of what God's ideal is for our homes and for our children, to be raised in homes where we love Jesus and we love each other. And that really the best way we can show Jesus to our children is to love each other as parents. One of the best gifts I believe we can bring to our children. So when that doesn't happen, how can we step in and how can we encourage and support? Because these children are precious children of God, and they have many gifts to be used by Him. So I just recall that as a very challenging time to try to work through.
I can imagine how difficult that time was, and something that kind of like rang in my head at that point when you were sharing a little bit of the story is like the need for safety for children. How important is that, when somebody's thinking about ministering to children, how important is that we make sure that children are safe in our locations, in our churches?
Yes, that's a thing over the last, really since I've been here, is when I arrived, we started a really big push for background checks for every single volunteer that works with children. We are doing that now, and I'm very thankful that we are. And our whole entire North American Vision is doing that and has taken a huge stance and step forward in that. Pathfinders, Adventures, you don't work for any and volunteer in any of those ministries without being background checked. When I first started as a young girl and as a teen in children's ministries, that was never really talked about, doing background checks. And now it's almost understood. It's a must. So that is a change that I have witnessed, but a necessary change because of what we experience in this world. Keeping our children safe is paramount. It's very important. And unless our children are safe, we can't really minister to them. And they can't really use their gifts for Jesus unless they feel it's a safe environment.
Talking about the environment, physical safety has always been important. And I think that increasing the measures to protect children is even more important today. But what about intellectual safety? The safety to ask any question and not be judged. The safety to think different and challenge the system even at an early age. Children are curious. I don't know if you remember your early classes at church. It seemed that teachers were only focused on introducing safe concepts to children, and not a lot of relational stuff, not a lot of practice of those concepts. It seemed as if you know the memory verse, you get a prize. But if you go help people, there's no prize, there's no incentive. It seemed to be one-dimensional, very focused on knowledge and concepts. So, what should be our focus? Knowledge or practice?
Yes, well, I think it's multifaceted. There's many parts. We have to remember that for our children, as you said, it shouldn't be just one dimensional. It shouldn't just be about information and resources. And although that's very important, and teaching them the treasure that is found in God's Word is essential. And it's crucial as Christians. And we want to make sure that we're offering that piece naturally. The relationship piece, however, sometimes is overlooked. In other words, we could learn a lot about Jesus and not even really know who He is, not really even recognize that He is our, beloved Lord. He is our best friend. He's our Savior. We can teach them how to know about Him, but not how to know Him. And so I think we have to be very intentional about the relationship piece of Christianity in just how we structure our classes, how we structure our times where we are with our children. And that's important. I also believe an essential piece is service, and that we have to think outside of ourselves, because Jesus always did and does. So we have to do the same. We have to serve in our homes, and children can serve in their homes, in their schools, in their neighborhoods, their communities, even at very young ages. Get them involved. If you're going to go downtown to feed the homeless, your children should be a part of that. And going side by side with you? Are you going to adopt a family for Christmas? They should be helping to fill the boxes and wrap. And we've done that many years. We always have a shared Christmas project here for our children that we promote in our children's ministries. So service, I think, is an essential piece. Service and relationship in addition to information, I believe will produce better kingdom disciples for Jesus.
To produce those kingdom disciples, probably you need a great teacher. So who's in charge of learning and teaching? Who's responsible for how a child turns out? Is it the teacher or is it the student?
Oh. It is such a partnership. If you have a teacher who's a magnificent master teacher in a classroom that doesn't tap into where their students are, what, connecting with them, that teacher's going to fall flat, no matter how much that teacher knows, no matter, so that relationship piece has to be essential. So it's really a partnership. It's almost equal, I would say. I think, to teach well, we have to be connected to the Lord, and we have to fully and completely rely on Him, because I know I'm one of those perfectionist types that try to sometimes do things on my own. And that's always where I mess up big time. Instead of giving it all to God and saying, okay, when it's a vacation Bible school, a huge ministry program that I'm trying to run, it's not my ministry. It's God's. It's His. He's in control. He's only allowing me to work with it. So that reminder is essential. So, it's a partnership. It has to be a both and, not an either or.
I hope you've enjoyed our episode on children ministries and that you're encouraged to shift your attitude towards children and that you start including them in discipleship and activities in the church. Remember, it's not only information, but also relationship and transformation. Also, this is the produced version of Disruptive Adventism. To get the unedited version, go to patreon.com/disruptiveadventism. To finalize our episode today, Carole has some words for all of us. Here they are.
It's a joy to talk about what God has allowed me to be doing. And I just have a passion for children, for working with children, for helping them to find where God wants them to serve, to realize that they are important right now, today, that He's created them to do something amazing. They are His masterpieces, His children. We are gifted with them. And that is the word. We are gifted to be able to work with them and minister with them for really a short time, a very short time. 18 years may seem like forever, or in the midst when you're a parent, but it's very short, coming from a grandma now who has 3 adult children. The time flies. So that joy to be able to minister with them and learn from them, because I always say that I learn far more from the children that I work with than they ever learned from me. It is an incredible blessing. So if you haven't tried children's ministries, give it a try.
You've been listening to Disruptive Adventism. We hope that today's topic helped you to think and change something about your practices, about your faith, about your Adventism. If you want to subscribe, make sure to go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be there. And make sure to give us a review if you like what you're listening to. If you want to support, make sure to go to patreon.com/disruptiveadventism. It helps us pay our bills and produce the content that you're listening to. And if you want to socialize, make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram or on Twitter, and hit us up whenever you need anything. We'll be there to support you. Thank you for listening today. We hope you join us next time. And as always, we invite you to be disruptive.